everyone, and welcome to the Extraordinarily Ordinary. Our guest today is Matt Hargett. He's a mental health advocate from the USA, and he's here with us today to talk about depression in men. So, how are you, Matt?
I'm good, Afsan. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good. It's my pleasure. All right. So, can you share with us a little bit about your experience with depression?
Sure. One day, this was over 5 years ago, possibly 6 years ago, I just woke up one morning and I could not and did not want to get out of bed. I don't know why that was. I didn't want to talk to anybody or deal with anything and didn't know what to do.
Okay, so how did that impact your work, your social life, your relationships, and your family?
Oh, well, yeah, it was bad. It was really bad because in order to get out of bed, I didn't want to admit I had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out of bed by getting angry, really. I just started getting angry at everything and everyone, even my wife and kids. I just remember the one time my wife said, she didn't know who she was getting every morning, happy Matt or angry Matt, because it was so volatile. And I didn't want to seek any help for a long time. I didn't see anyone, like a therapist or a counselor or a doctor, for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't really want to admit that I had a problem. And ultimately, the impact that had on my life was, leaving jobs, bouncing around jobs, thinking that was going to make me feel better. I ended up, losing or left my last job, going through a divorce. And, I lost a lot of my friends as well, right? Because I was just out of contact with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was had a really devastating impact on my life. Just, socially, family, financially, over the long term. It wasn't good because I didn't go seek help.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you didn't want to admit that you had a problem. Why was that?
I don't know. I do know. Well, I just, the internal stigma related to mental health issues, number one, right? I don't even know if I was ever, when I was brought up I didn't even recognize anything or it wasn't talked about. Any type of emotional or mental health issues were actually ever discussed that I know of. It was just kind of a separate thing. Mm-hmm. And even if, being raised as a boy, I was raised not to cry and suck it up and tough it out and all those types of things. So when I woke up that morning and I couldn't or didn't want to get out of bed, I basically took the same attitude, right? Just got to suck it up and tough it out. And that's why I got angry. That was the only thing that allowed me to get out of bed. It kind of gave me energy that I no longer had to get out of bed.
So it was the anger that pushed you to just get out of bed and go through the motions.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So once you've admitted that you had a problem, what did you do about it?
I went to therapy. I went to individual therapy, couples therapy, group therapy. I even took medication, antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs. I did that for years. It had some impact, but it didn't really ultimately solve my problem that I had.
Is there anything else that you do outside of therapy that helped you in any way?
Yeah, what got me to a point where I literally changed my mind or my I don't even know how to explain it, was I started to meditate, and I call that meditation. I mean, there's a lot of different types of meditation, but it's kind of a blend between mindfulness and prayer. And I started focusing on different passages in scripture in the Bible and talking to God about it. And I don't know how to explain this, but one day I woke up, it was like a couple months later after doing this every morning, I woke up and my mind was like calm. I was at peace and I was happy. And I couldn't believe that. And because of that, just sudden change after spending a lot of time doing this meditating, and actually I would journal immediately afterward. After this meditating and journaling, I no longer am in therapy and I don't take medication anymore. It's pretty amazing, actually.
That's good if you're not on medication anymore. So something is obviously working.
Right. Right.
Okay, and it's interesting that you mentioned that growing up as a boy, you were expected to be tough and like boys don't cry and things like that. Because even in my culture, the Asian culture, boys are expected to behave a certain way and they cannot, let's just say, like being in touch with their emotions is a big no-no. So did you ever feel that having depression or even being in touch with your own emotions as a sign of weakness?
I think that's a good way of putting it. It's a sign of weakness, right? Because being raised to just suck it up or tough it out means you just fight through it. So when you fight through it, then that means you're not even trying to understand or acknowledge the emotions that you're having. In fact, you shouldn't have them, right? If you're going to feel sad, well, then I might cry, and that wasn't allowed, really. So, in order to mask that feeling of sadness or not feel it, ignoring it was one way, but the other way I probably dealt with it more frequently was just being angry about everything. It was easy to cover up some uncomfortable feeling like sadness with anger, right? Because not only can you mask that feeling that makes you uncomfortable, but it can also like give you, like I mentioned earlier, some kind of energy, even if it's negative energy, right? To push forward. Yeah.
That is also another thing. Men are not expected to display their emotions except when they're angry. Like anger is an acceptable emotion for men. So why do you think that is?
That's a good question. Why is anger an acceptable emotion? I don't know, because men are supposed to be like, typical culture over here, strong and tough, right? And dominating or domineering. So then, if one man looks big and strong and, angry, well, then he must be, I don't want to say like a leader, but someone who you don't want to mess with. I don't really know. That's a good question. I honestly have said I don't know how to.
Right?
Pardon?
Now, someone who is in control, like in control of things, of his own life.
Right. Yeah, someone who's in control, or wants, control. Yeah.
You did seek help for your depression. So did that ever make you feel emasculated in any way?
At the beginning, I believe, yes, it did. Because I never had to talk about how I felt before. I don't remember ever talking about how I felt or feelings. So it's extremely uncomfortable. And yeah, the feeling of, being emasculated for sure came up.
Do you feel the same way now?
No, not at all. I think, not being able to talk about your feelings or address them or understand them is kind of really an act of cowardice or being weak. It's actually takes someone strong to be able to talk about their feelings and why they're feeling that way. It's kind of definitely, I thought I was being strong by not talking about my feelings or addressing them or thinking about them, but actually it was just an act of weakness or cowardice.
A man is actually stronger when he can face his own demons, internal demons, his own emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how's your life now compared to before you did all these things that helped you with your depression?
I mentioned my mind. I'm just more at peace. My mind's, I don't have it like the anxiety or the racing thoughts like I always did. I'm just much calmer and at peace with where I am. And in a way, it's made me want to do something to help other people rather than, be focused on myself and my career and just making a bunch of money. So it's had a huge impact on me and my whole mindset. From helping my depression and anxiety, meaning completely overcame it, to also wanting to do something to help others, instead of just like putting myself in the center of my life.
Is that why you started your advocacy on mental health?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So do you want to talk more on your advocacy? Like, how do you do it? Who's your target group? Do you talk to mostly men or anyone in general?
Well, I did start a community for men on LinkedIn, actually. Just a support group, some place where men can come and have a safe place to talk about anything that they want, or for any type of support that they want in a safe and non-judgmental environment. Also working on a podcast like you are, Afsan. But that I haven't 100% flushed that out yet, although I've had recorded a few episodes.
Okay, baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up this thing about helping others, because I also have bipolar disorder. And one of the things that was recommended to me by my therapist was to help others. And that gives me like a sense of purpose in life.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's what I feel like, giving back to others and supporting others
Yes.
You're not only helping them, but you're also helping yourself.
Exactly.
Right? When you do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's cliche, but money really cannot buy you happiness. It can help a little bit, but it cannot buy you a happiness. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I had a lot of money before,
Mhm.
and now I don't have very much, but I'm a lot happier.
But you're happier now, right?
Right.
Do you think it is important for men to be able to talk about their emotions without judgment?
Oh, yes. I completely think it's very important for men to talk about their emotions without judgment. And not all men have to. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, everyone's different, right? Everybody's completely different. But I think a lot of men would benefit from that, and I'd like to I probably didn't do a good job of that earlier, before my depression and anxiety with my own children. But, I'd like to, I have 2 boys, and and a girl, but I'd like to encourage them that, it's okay to show your emotions and even cry. Crying is acceptable if you need to do that. It's kind of a release and helps people deal with their emotions. It's not good to suppress them, which is what I did, and it caused me a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's something that I think most mental health patients go through. Even me as a woman, at the beginning, I did not want to admit that I had issues, that I had some mental health issues. And it took a while for me to actually go and seek help. It took several suicidal thoughts for me to actually stop and say, okay, that's too much for me. That's too scary. I need help. And that was when I actually forced myself to go and see a therapist. So I think this issue is not just with men, but also with women. But I think because of the social expectations of men, it makes it harder for men to talk about their own emotions. Okay, so what is your advice to a man who has depression?
First thing, you're not alone, because that's what I thought. Very few people have this type of problem, depression and anxiety. Well, even before the pandemic, we know that 1 in 5 people suffer from something like that, some type of mental illness every year in the US. And then during the pandemic, 1 in 3 adults were experiencing it. So that's the first thing, is to realize that everybody has mental health, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of your overall wellness. And if you're gonna, if you recognize that you have some kind of issue, don't be afraid to say something to a friend or a family member, or reach out to get some help, or even look online for some support group, or even self-help, initially. But yeah, don't be afraid to talk about it, because there's a lot of people out there that have mental health issues at some point in their life. In fact, I think the number is about 50% of us are going to have something happen to us during our lifetime. So you're not alone. It's not something that just happens to a few people. It's very prevalent in our society, and people should just recognize that.
Okay, so that's for the men who may have depression. What about those around them, the people around him, like his family, his friends? Like, what do they do when somebody in their family says that he might be having depression and he just wants to talk it out with someone?
Yeah, I think all you can do is support that person where they are. You can't force somebody to seek help, right? Like if they're not initially seeking help, you should encourage them to do so. But that person has to make the decision to go seek help. So all that you can do is, if you're a family member is suffering from, say, depression, and all you can do is support them, love them and support them in any way that you can, and encourage them to get help. I think that's about all you can do.
All right. So before we go, I want to do a speed round with you. We're going to have some fun, just a little bit of fun. So we're going to do a speed round. Yeah. So I'm just going to ask a few questions, and you have to answer. You cannot think. You can just answer straight away the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
This is interesting.
Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh, classic. Favorite song?
2112 by Rush.
Okay, I don't know what that song is. Favorite artist?
No, it's a very, very long song.
Favorite singer?
Favorite singer?
Yeah.
Geddy Lee. He's the lead singer for Rush.
Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book?
Yeah.
The Bible.
Cool. Okay, so that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much, Matt, for being my guest today. It's been a pleasure, and it has been very informative. I learned so much from just about 20, 25 minutes of this interview with you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Afsan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So everyone, if you suspect anyone in your family, male or female, that is dealing with mental health issues, do encourage them to seek help, and don't be afraid to and listen to them if they need. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. So just listen to what they have to say without judgment, and just be there for them and support them. Okay, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you'll get alerts on my future videos. Bye.